Had these boiling for about a half hour. Now I have them clamped to the corners of my table at the height, the angle, and the radius that I want for the tips. Each ski is 2 layers of 1/16 birch plywood. I'm weighting down the rest of the ski because the steam has caused it to warp. I want them to dry flat. After these dry for 24 hours or so, I'll laminate them together in this same setup. Moment of truth here. These have been glued up, drying overnight. Let's see if this angle and radius holds. Yes. I have these what I would call pretty severely weighted down, fighting the warpage from the steam. These turned out nice and uniform. The nose of these skis will have a radius on them, using up the plywood that I had. Nice and flat. 2 1/16 laminations are stronger than a single 1/8" piece of plywood. There's my layout for radiusing the tips. I'm also tapering the back of the skis just for aesthetics and less drag in the back. 1/4 inch by 3 inches. I measured the components instead of assembling Draco to get her all up weight, to calculate for the size of your skis. Figure 14 square inches per pound. So my skis are 18 inches by 4. Gets me pretty close to 145 1/4 square inches. Here is the layout for the top pieces on the skis. This curve matches the tips at a 30-degree angle for aesthetics on the front, 45-degree angle on the back. Here is the axle location, which is 60% back on the ride surface. I have the risers laid out. I have marks for centering the stiffener pieces going down the middle. I have the marks on here for half of my wheel diameter, this total height. These blocks are 3 inches at the bottom, 1.5 inches at the top, and this is 1 7/8 inches, along with 3/4 and 1/8 gives me 2 3/4, half the height of the 5.5-inch wheels. Clamping is always whatever it takes to get her done. I've cut out 4 pieces of 1/16 ply. Grain is running across. Marked them to fit for each side. That's not going anywhere. I'm not talking about my clamp job. I'm talking about these vertical pieces on a landing. A straight hole was critical. I have pretty good alignment on the skis. Taking a closer look here. 16 3/16 in the front. 15 15/16 in the back. Even using my trusty rusty drill press, it's off almost 1/4 inch. But I have a way to adjust that. I wanted to line these risers on these skis with brass tubing, but these are metric size axles, 5mm. It'd be 196/8. They actually measure 194. So I don't have any brass tubing that size, so I can't line them. So my plan was to case harden them with CA, which will cause the holes to shrink. So I'll work them in. I wouldn't even mind a little toe in. So I'll go in by hand and I'll move the hole. Then when I case harden it with the CA, it should shrink. I'll be able to work with it a little bit and get both these lined up. Like I say, even probably about an 1/8 inch toe in wouldn't hurt. Pretty sure it's not going to take much to all the way at the ends of 18-inch skis to move this 1/8 of an inch. Do that to both sides. Case harden with CA. Work it a little more with the drill as needed. Get this alignment on these skis. I have the holes moved and case hardened with CA. Almost no play in the holes. I got 16 1/16 in the front. I got 16 1/8 in the back. So 1/16 of an inch toe in. In the air, skis need to be set at a slight incline. On the ground, they need to be able to move over bumps. And also, for a tail dragger, taken off initially, tail's on the ground, then it has to be able to pivot to come up before takeoff. This is the spring that causes the ski to come up against this limiting cable here. I've accomplished that by having this limiting cable go around the screw for the shock at the top, and this spring goes around the screw at the knuckle here. When I slide it on, this will go around the axle, same time it goes around this screw at the knuckle. The only additional piece of hardware is this aluminum sleeve spacer, and I've managed to also still keep the suspension working. I'll show you how it goes together. Washer, spacer, other washer. Then we have to put the axle through the ski. That slides on until it seats. The spacer is taking up the difference of the thickness between the riser and the wheel. So the axle is just past flush here. So just like with the wheel, put washer and a nut on. And the spring goes over the screw at this knuckle here. nut holding it on. And the limiting cable goes around the screw on the top of the outer shock. Nut captures that. Now the spring holds the ski at a set angle against this limiting cable, but it can move going over bumps or when the tail sets down on landing. To set the angle of the skis while it's flying, I have blocked the front of the skis up the amount I want them inclined in the air, and I have the plane blocked up so it's slightly tail high, the attitude that it flies at. And then I made up these cables on both sides, just a touch of slack in both of them. If I lift the plane up now, you can see that that angle of the skis are the same. So it has to also be able to lower the tail. So there is, it's setting on the tail wheel, and then going over bumps, skis have to be able to flex like that. At the same time, suspension has to be able to work, which it does. You have to limit the skis to a slight up angle so they're the same, and also doesn't affect the flight, which means it can go over bumps and flex this way, but if you're coming up on a bump, they have to be strong enough to where if you come up a sharp incline, it has to be able to lift the plane up to go up over a bump in the snow. I'll pan around here, take a close look at how this is set up. It's very important to me that I could switch out from skis or wheels and not make any changes to the suspension. Very interesting to me too that same time the suspension still works. Wow, right? Draco on skis. How cool is that? I'll pull these off here next, seal them with thin epoxy like I do my boats, then get some paint on them.